Child's play is a phrase we often hear being used to describe something that's simple or easy to accomplish. However, play has a much greater role in the development of children than many realize. The way a child plays influences how they'll interact with others and approach tasks for the rest of their life. Therefore, it's important that kids feel comfortable playing in a way that works for them. However, this is something that ends up being difficult for some children because of gender-specific toys. According to an October 2021 article from The Guardian, toys that are marketed specifically for boys or for girls provide different cognitive benefits, and only exposing a child to one of these categories can significantly hinder the developmental process while perpetuating harmful gender stereotypes. Today, we'll examine this issue being faced by millions of children by first considering how gender-specific toys became so popular, before then looking at what implications this has for child development, before finally considering better play alternatives for the sake of kids everywhere. Before we can adequately address the issue of gender-specific toys, we need to consider how they became so relevant. To do this, let's first take a look at how the American toy industry started to become as popular as it is now. A March 2021 article from the Washington Post describes how the gendered advertisement of toys found its roots in America in the 1800s. Marketers at this point were just beginning to take advantage of the children as an audience for their products, and some of them began to realize that there was an even more efficient target: older boys. These companies shifted their focus from the entire youth audience to just the portion composed of older boys. Due to being exposed to the workforce, these boys were more financially independent and had already started to experience some consumer temptations. This made it less likely in the eyes of the companies that they would come under scorn from parents for targeting the children with their products. Gender-specific toys continued to be relevant throughout the 19th and 20th century. According to a December 2020 article from The Conversation magazine, toy manufacturers in the 1930s throughout the 50s began to realize that wealthy families were willing to spend lots of money on huge sets of toys that catered to their child's gender. Thus, extravagant sets of dollhouses and toy trains were born. The gender divide in toys has only gotten more severe in recent decades. An article from the National Association for the Education of Young Children, Last Access, October 25, 2022, describes a research experiment conducted at Purdue University in which the researchers classified 100 toys as being associated with boys, girls, or neither. When the researchers compared the toys they'd placed into these three categories, it was very obvious that the toys that were relevant to boys placed a heavy emphasis on fighting and aggression, while the girls' toys focused lots on one's appearance. Furthermore, the researchers ranked the toys by how beneficial they considered them to be for optimal child development in physical, cognitive, and creative aspects. The toys at the top of this list were either gender neutral or moderately masculine. The result of this study, plus what we learned about how the gendered advertising of toys became so popular, leads us to one conclusion. The profit incentive led firms to adapt gendered marketing tactics that have led to gender-specific toys flooding the market at the expense of kids everywhere. Now, on the surface, the design and production of gender-specific toys may not seem like something to be super concerned about, especially today when so many parents take advantage of the vast toy market and let their kids play with whatever they want. However, this is exactly why we must next consider how the persistence of gender-specific toys can have serious implications on child development. As I mentioned before, the way a child plays influences how they'll interact with others and approach tasks for the rest of their lives. According to an October 2022 article from parentingforbrain.com, play is how children learn and familiarize themselves with the world around them. Play teaches children how to use different parts of their brain to succeed in a variety of tasks. Furthermore, as explained in an April 2022 article from raisingchildren.net, play is super important for teaching children how to have self-confidence and how to have healthy interactions with others. This type of learning is very evident when a group of children are successful in putting together a puzzle. Such tasks require effective teamwork, and the kids feel proud of themselves when they succeed. However, these critical benefits of playing are much more likely to be limited by gender-specific toys. The previously described research from Purdue University points out that restricting a child to toys that are supposed to cater to their gender actually limits the developmental process. And this isn't the only area in which gender-specific toys can negatively impact children. Their effects are felt in other areas as well, such as one's gender identity. Frequent exposure to gender-specific toys can make children feel pressured to express themselves in a way that's most preferable to society, rather than doing what's actually best for themselves. Furthermore, a January 2020 article from the journal The Archaeology of Sexual Behavior adds that most kids actually don't display a gender preference for the toys they enjoy, at least until they've been exposed to society's ideas about gender roles. When a child is exposed to societal gender norms and then encouraged to play with toys that further these narratives, they get the message that we expect them to act according to these restricting gender stereotypes. It's common sense that this would cause turmoil among children who are trying to determine their gender identity. And this phenomenon might actually be worse for boys than it is for girls. A March 2022 article from the National News describes how in a survey of 7,000 parents from 7 different countries, a whopping 54% of them said they were concerned that their son would be made fun of for playing with toys that were traditionally marketed for girls. On the other hand, only 24% of them expressed concern that their daughter would be bullied for having traditionally male interests. Since these gender stereotypes follow us into adulthood, it is clear that gender-specific toys not only pose a threat to optimal child development, but also to adults as they struggle to conform to deeply seated gender norms. We've looked at how gender-specific toys became the norm and what this means for child development, so now it's time to ask ourselves the critical question of what we can do about it. The most obvious solution here is to buy gender-neutral toys for the kids in your life, and according to a November 2021 article from the Brookings Institute, this begins by shopping in the gender-neutral toy aisle. The article explains how legislation that was recently passed in California requires large stores that sell toys to market a specific proportion of them in a separate gender-neutral fashion. Additionally, the previously mentioned March 2021 article from the Washington Post reveals that parents are becoming more and more interested in buying toys that don't encourage gender stereotypes in their children's lives. Gender-neutral toys are a great way to avoid this. Plus, they provide a plethora of developmental benefits. Children practice being creative when they engage in activities such as manipulating Play-Doh or building structures out of wooden blocks. Also, these are activities that children that identify in any gender category can enjoy. Furthermore, many companies have started to produce science kits that aren't targeted at a specific gender. This allows children to learn about the world around them and practice their critical thinking without being subject to these stereotypes. In addition to taking a proactive approach with the children in your life, you may also consider only buying toys from companies like Hasbro that have made conscious efforts to reduce bias in their products. You may also consider lobbying your local toy store to add a gender-neutral section. Let's be honest, more comprehensive legislation like that passed in California would be a great solution everywhere. For now, however, gender-neutral toys are a solid place to start. It's safe to say that we all want the best for children. However, we can't actually achieve that until we stop encouraging binary gender stereotypes through gender-specific toys. Today, we considered how gender-specific toys became the cultural norm in America, then looked at what this means for both children and adults once they've grown up, before finally taking a look at better play alternatives that encourage the safe and healthy development of children. Dismantling gender stereotypes in America is a massive task because of how deeply ingrained they are into modern society. However, simple behavioral and ideological changes within our own communities can go a long way in showing children that what they play with matters, and that this decision should be left up to them, not up to society. The immediate solution to the issue of gender bias in toys is really just as simple as child's play.